Hello, scrapbookers. This is Megan, and I am back today with a fun little National Scrapbook Day challenge. If you didn't already know, I am a design team member for Victoria Marie. She has a Victoria Marie Facebook group. And for National Scrapbook Day, a bunch of us from the design team as well as the Crafty Maven Getaway design team are doing an online crop for this whole weekend. So it starts tonight. I am your very first challenge, first lady bringing you a challenge. And for tonight, or for the next 3 hours, I would like to challenge you guys to scrapbook a multi-photo layout. And I do this often. This is something that I enjoy doing, is including more than 2 or 3 photos on a layout. Well, I guess more than 2 photos on a layout. So my challenge is to use multi-photos. If using more than 3 photos is a stretch for you, then go ahead and just use 2 or 3. But I'd really like to challenge you to at least use 3 photos on your layout. So here I am just picking the background papers, and I have a bunch of scraps left over from my February hip kit. So I'm going to be using this kit for this challenge. So I had this wood grain that had the pink color, the paint. I don't know if you would call it paint, like it faded to pink. And it's really cute, but since I have boys, I'm probably never going to use it. So I decided to cover it up with this Amy Tangerine Better Together paper. And then I turned it over and I saw this other side that was polka dots, and I was like, oh my gosh, that works even better than the triangles. So I'm totally going to glue down the triangle piece and use the polka dot. And that just worked out totally amazing. It worked out perfect. So here I'm using some close to my heart aqua tape. It's called glitter tape or shimmer tape. Sorry, I can't talk. So I just put that across the little divide so that it wasn't such a harsh divide there. And then now I'm just going to place my photos down. And here, what I'm doing is I'm thinking, okay, maybe I need a little bit more color up there above that blue line. So I'm going to glue this yellow strip of paper. And I don't remember which collection that is from, so I apologize. But it was in the February hip kit from 2016. Now here I am going to back each one of these photos on just a little teeny tiny white piece of paper. And it's really not going to be that much of a matte, but I just wanted them to stand out a little bit more against that kind of dark navy blue. So here I'm just going to glue them all down and then cut them up, and then I'm going to place them on my layout in the order that I have them. And this layout just really flowed. I don't know if you guys have layouts that just take you forever, and then there's layouts that just, everything just seems to flow perfectly. And this layout just came together so perfect. I think it also helped that my photos were a little bit smaller. So if you have bigger photos and you're going to try to use 3 photos, it might be a little bit tricky to get them all to fit on the layout. So I will kind of throughout the layout kind of talk about some different things that you can do to help you with using multi-photos on a layout. Here what I'm doing is I'm just pulling out some ephemera pieces, and there was this tag that said #hello, and then I also had this wood veneer that said us. So I am going to have that be the title. And then I also wanted to have a little embellishment cluster up there in the top right hand corner. And I had that crazy and fun little cut apart piece, but I didn't really like the way it looked up there on the wood grain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little cluster down there in the bottom, and I had some thread that was yellow from the kit, and I totally wanted to channel my inner Missy. I don't know if you guys do that, but Missy Whitten is such a huge inspiration and just amazing at scrapbooking. And so I'm going to channel my inner Missy in just a little bit, but here I'm just putting together this little cluster, title cluster, and then I'm going to glue it there in the middle after I glue down the photos. So let's talk about photo placement for a little bit. So one of the things that I think people are challenged by in scrapbooking multiple photos is trying to fit all of the photos on a layout. And if you have trouble with this, go to Pinterest. Go look for sketches. Go look for layouts that you really like and that you want to lift. I do that all the time. That is probably my number one go-to is Pinterest. If I have a bunch of photos and I want to make sure that I really like the layout, then I go to Pinterest and I search, multi-photo layouts, or I search however many photos I have, I search for that number of photos. Okay, so here I'm just gluing down these hearts, and they are just a very thin wood veneer heart. And I also put down 3 enamel dots that had come in the kit. And then I remembered, oh, dang it, I wanted to channel my inner Missy. And so I had to pull up that little cut apart piece to put the thread behind there. And it wasn't working very well without pulling it all the way up. So I am going to pull it all the way up here. I'm going to glue down the thread, and then I'm going to put the cut apart tag back on there. The thread was kind of giving me a hard time. It didn't want to look perfect, but I really like how it turned out in the end. So here I have decided I like that, and I'm going to glue everything down again. And then we are going to move on. I think I'm going to start doing the top cluster. So here I'm thinking, okay, I need a cluster up here. So I put down the enamel dots, and then I'm going to put down these enamel dots by the title and glue down the wood veneer heart that's right there. And then now I'm thinking, oh, I don't want it on that side because that looks kind of funny to have it over there just in the middle of the layout. It doesn't look like a true triangle, all of those things running through my head. And then here I'm thinking, okay, what else am I going to do on this because it doesn't look done yet? And I know that I want to add some journaling. These are pictures of my 2 kids playing with their Uncle Matt. We went down to Utah to meet him for a couple days before he went on his mission. And so I think it was a day or 2 before we drove down and we spent time together. And so this is just Matt playing with my boys and just being the fun uncle that he is. So you can tell that here I'm just kind of stuck. I'm not really sure what I want to do. So I'm pulling out this cut apart sheet and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to add to this? What am I going to add? So while you kind of watch me flitter around, whatever, I want to talk about multi-photos again. So my number one tip is to go to Pinterest and look for inspiration, even on Facebook, because there are so many Facebook groups. Like, there is bound to be a multi-photo layout that you will just love and fall in love with. And the reason I scrapbook with multiple photos on my layouts most of the time is because I take a ton of photos. And if I were to do every single layout with just 1 or 2 photos on a layout, I would have 1 million albums. And I'm not joking. So it just makes sense to me to kind of group my photos in more than, 3s. Sometimes I do double page spreads, which is also another fun way to include more than 1 or 2 photos on your layouts. Okay, so here I am cutting up some little pattern papers from that cut apart sheet, and I'm going to layer them above those enamel dots. And I'm thinking, okay, I like these 2. These are fun. And then I needed something else. It didn't look complete. So here I'm going to pull out this shimmer trim again from close to my heart, and I'm going to put that down on the bottom underneath the blue or underneath the yellow banner. And then I'm going to glue that a more little cut apart. Here I kind of mess up a little bit and I'm trying to cut a banner, but since it's such a small little piece of shimmer tape, it didn't really cut it very perfectly. But I was like, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. You can't even really tell. So then I'm going to place this Amore sticker right there in between the blue and the yellow paper. And that is going to be it for this cluster. And it's very simple and easy. I love it. I am a very simple and clean and easy scrapbooker. Okay, so now here I am going to do my journaling. And I'm going to kind of think about this for a while, and then I decide, okay, I'm just going to start writing. So what I decide to write is, Jonas and Brennan had so much fun playing with Uncle Matt before bedtime. He is a really cool uncle. And what I learned from this is that I write very sideways. I do not write straight. But I did want to do the lines underneath them, so I should have just done the lines and not cared how it turned out. But I wanted to make sure that I had enough room, and so I didn't want to make the lines first. So I made the lines second, and I would suggest that you do it first, because then it looks more natural. But it turned out okay. I did have a little space underneath the journaling, so I pulled out my Dear Lizzie rotary stamp that just has some phrases on it, and I stamped the best 3 times in a couple different places on the layout. And that is the end of my layout. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to come on over to the Victoria Marie Facebook group this weekend and join in on our cropping schedule. Have a great night, and be sure to come back at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to have the next challenge with Casey. Bye, guys.